number 6. Alright guys, for number 6, I was reversing these.
Part 9.
Part 2.
Part 2. But we're getting closer to agreeing on one.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah. Again, like I said at the beginning of this video, Part 9 was one of the ones that initially traumatized me. And again, I think it has its detractors, obviously, because, you know, Kane Hodder, as we've already discussed, was not in it enough. Yes, we will, you know, we'll agree on that. But still, the kills were good, and I think they were probably one of the more graphic series of kills that I've seen in the series. And it had the most lurid sex scene, I think. It's, you know, they didn't dumb it down. They really played it to the bone a little bit, if you'll pardon the expression.
Yeah.
But no, I enjoyed it for what it was, and again, it was one of those things that kind of started having me freaking out about Jason. It had me, you know, always checking my windows and always making sure my doors were locked.
So the look of Jason didn't bother you?
I had nothing to compare it to, right? Because this is the first time I was watching Jason, right? And I didn't know any of the continuity. I didn't see any of the films before this, so the look of Jason, didn't really bother me.
Okay.
Personally.
One thing we forgot to mention about Part 9, yes, one good thing that Part 9 did, but unfortunately it was the biggest tease of all time, you know, was the whole Freddy glove thing.
Yes, there's that.
That was a great way to end that film, but it should have never took as long as it did, to do the Versus film.
And the Necronomicon also shows up in this film, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah, so interesting crossover film. It's one of the biggest, how do we say, cock tease films of the franchise. It had us like, it's this long gestured Versus film that we always wanted to see, but never happened. So, but yeah.
Okay, so for me, number 2, this is where the films actually start to get good and, really, really addicting. I know a few friends that absolutely love number 2, that they actually put it as their favorite Friday the 13th film out of the entire series. For me, one of the biggest things I will give towards Part 2 is that it does have one of the best survivor girls of all time, Amy Steele, who plays Jenny. I think that was her name. She's a great character throughout this entire film. She never comes across as weak, and I loved how much time they actually spent on the actual pursuit, because pretty much everybody's dead or knocked out, and it's only usually 1 or 2 minutes, and then there's a final confrontation, and then the movie ends. But a great deal of the film was spent with Jason actually trying to track her down, to actually try to catch her, because there was a lot of hiding, there was a lot of mind games and that kind of thing, and trying to outsmart Jason. And I can really appreciate that, because it really did an excellent job of building the tension of the film. But unfortunately, this film does suffer problems with pacing, because it really takes a long time to actually get to the actual mass killings, where he actually gets to the actual campsite and starts murdering the counselors, because before then we only had a cop, and Crazy Ralph end up getting murdered in Part 2. So after Crazy Ralph got murdered, there was a significant amount of time that kind of almost took you out of the film before the killing ramped up again. But number 2 has some really iconic kills. You have the guy in the wheelchair that gets the machete to the face. You have the couple that gets speared right through the bed, and the stupid MPAA cut that scene out, a bunch of bastards. And it's just like, even though I understand that this was the movie that they did introduce Jason, I wasn't convinced on the whole sackhead look. I really wasn't. I thought it looked okay, but obviously I'd rather take hockey mask Jason over, sackhead Jason. So it just didn't seem convincing that, a guy with a sack over his head, could kill as much as he did. And I think it was more of the design of the sack, because in the 2009 remake, you know, when he killed the first bunch of people, you know, he had a sack around his head. But I actually kind of liked the design of that because it was more actually wrapped around of his head, almost like bandage-like, instead of actually just having a paper bag or a sack. But one of the reasons why I did like Jason in this film is that he was incredibly versatile. You know, not only was he using a machete, he was using a pitchfork, he was using a pickaxe, and you know the great climatic scene, you know at the end of Jenny trying to use mind games, you know, to kind of stall Jason, and you know coming across you know his little shack in the woods. I thought it was a very put together film, but unfortunately the biggest strike against it was the actual pacing. Number 5. All right, so for number 9, guys.
Number 5.
Oh yeah, sorry, number 5. I'm the one that's losing it this time. Number 5.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. The remake ranks that high up on your list.
That high up on my list. So I will be the first to go why I enjoyed this film.
Go ahead.
All right. A lot of people hate the remake. I love the remake. I consider it one of the better Final Fantasy. Why in the hell did I go Final Fantasy? Friday the 13th films.
We're doing horror movies.
Yeah, exactly. Video games.
Yeah.
I consider it one of the better Friday the 13th films because I think it is one of the best portrayals of Jason. Nothing against Kane Hodder. He is the best. Derek Mears, though, did an excellent job with Jason, and the reason why is because I can appreciate Jason as the hunter. And that's what I fucking loved about this film. I love the fact that, look, I can understand why people had the problems that, you know, they didn't really need to give an explanation of why Jason could transport to different areas of the camp, you know, so quickly and that kind of thing. But I love the fact Jason could run. I love the fact that he was intimidating as fuck in this film. You know, he actually came at you with speed, with intensity, with anger, with vengeance. And it's just that, and this remake, as much as people have problems with it, I think have some of the best kills in the entire Friday the 13th franchise. You know, it even has one of my favorite kills of all time. And I love inventive kills. And I thought taking the missus and wrapping her up in the sleeping bag and hanging it over an open fire, that was fucking genius. I had never seen that kind of a kill before, and I thought that was a fucking genius kill. And it's just like, I just loved how Derek portrayed Jason. It's just that, you know, there wasn't none of this like mind game kind of stuff. Even though the fact that Jason took a hostage, you know, doesn't really fit with his mantra that well, but I think, you know, he looked at the character as his mother, and since you know he's a person, you know who loved his mom, I can kind of understand the angle that they were going for. I thought, you know, like the teenagers and the young adults in the film, yes, they were a bunch of idiots, but they were likable idiots. And it's just, even though, you know, the majority of the kills, you know, were done by use of the machete. You know, I love the fact that, you know, he set traps, that, you know, that he just had an anger about him. You know, I love it, you know, when Jason can run. I really can, because in all honesty, a running Jason's a hell of a lot more intimidating than an actual slow walking Jason.
But you still prefer slow moving zombies to fast moving zombies.
Yeah.
Okay, alright. So long as we agree on that much.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add on that?
It's just that I don't really understand, you know, why the movie really gets so much hate. You know, I think they tried to cram too much into it because, you know, they did the whole sack head thing, you know, at the beginning, but I kind of liked how the sack was designed because, you know, it was more wrapped around his head than it was actually just placed over his head. But it's just that, you know, a lot of people didn't like the way how Jason went out of like having a chain trapped in, you know, a contraption pulling him back, and, you know, he got stabbed. But it's just like, a lot of the cast in the film, you really didn't like him, so you wanted to see them go. Especially, you know, I forget his name, but I think his name is Trent. You know,
the Japanese guy. He was actually really good in that.
No, not the Japanese guy. You know, the long-haired guy. You know, who ended up sleeping with that blonde girl. He was the one who had the gun, and then Jason stabbed him with the machete. you know, when he found the truck,
It
somebody
was
had
kind of
stopped.
satisfying to see.
Yeah, and it was just fun to watch Jason just grab him and just slam him on the spike on the back of the truck, and he just drives right off. But
Yeah, because he was sleeping with that missus while his own girlfriend was at the door. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you just kind of wanted that prick to die. So
yeah, so overall, I really enjoyed a remake, but I can understand why people have their problems with it.
and with regards to number 5, to add to that, I mean, I can understand why people have their problems with A New Beginning, because again, it's not Jason, and we've always been bought over by this whole thing that it should be Jason or it should be a Voorhees that's doing all the killing. But that's what I enjoyed most about this film, is that, you know, it's one of those films that genuinely threw me for a loop. Like, I didn't expect that twist to happen in this film. And even though I felt that, you know, the psyche of Tommy Jarvis was kind of getting a little bit muddled near the end, because, you know, he had the mask at the end of the film. He wasn't sure what he was doing with it. Was he going to be putting it on? Was he going to be being the new Jason now? But that whole twist when we found out that the killer is not Jason, but it's somebody who was driven insane by the death of their child. I mean, it's not, you know, Pamela Voorhees, but at the same time it is somebody else who also lost a child. So yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I genuinely enjoyed part 5, I think.
What'd you think of the ending?
I thought the ending was good. Again, it goes back to like Tommy Jarvis being in the hospital and then breaking out. Like, it's one of those things that kind of kickstarts this obsession that he has with Jason that makes him into an enduring character, right? And I thought that was enjoyable because, you know, we don't have enough enduring characters in Friday the 13th. We're almost always killed by Jason. So yeah, it was good to see that. It was good to see a survivor actually survive for a change, and longer than more than 2 or 3 films.
And I think part 5 actually had one of the biggest survival rates because 3 people actually survived that film. You had the blonde missus, you had Tommy, and you had the black kid.
Yes, that's right. Even though the kill count was also pretty high.
Yeah, it was incredibly high.
Yeah.
Number 4.
Are we going to agree on at least one?
At the rate we're going, probably not.
Okay.
All right, guys, for number 4, this one might piss you off.
Okay, so we don't agree yet again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Part 6.
I'm going to go, let me say my bit first. With regards to part 6, this is the one in which Jason stopped being a serial killer and started being a supernatural serial killer. So this is, I don't know, I guess there was sort of an impression that we got that he was sort of supernatural, because in the first couple of films we kind of get the idea that, you know, he has almost superhuman strength, like he can crush a man's head like to pieces. So, but in this one, he's genuinely supernaturally resurrected. This is the part in which he's going to be, you know, essentially immortal. He's going to be carrying on the legacy forever.
Yeah, he makes the transition to zombie Jason.
But further to that, it also goes further than what it was from A New Beginning. Like I was just talking about number 5, and like we don't really know what's going on with Tommy's headspace. But now he's developed this obsession with Jason, and now he wants to make sure that he stays dead. And did he really shoot himself in the foot with that one?
Yeah. Could have left him buried.
He could have left him buried, but yeah, you know, he never. Things that get buried don't stay buried very long, right? But further than that, and further than my standard rant about, you know, good kills and everything, I just genuinely, as a writer myself, I liked the writing of this one. I liked the dialogue. I liked the female misses as well. The girl who kind of became his sort of love interest, Tommy Jarvis's love interest.
Yeah, the blonde girl. Megan.
Megan, yes.
Yeah.
She was good. She was feisty. She was pretty. I genuinely liked this girl. Like,
yeah.
It was like, I don't generally like any of the teenagers in these films, but yeah, she had spunk. I mean, she was good. I mean, you know, I didn't want anything to happen to her. So
yeah.
And further to that, another thing that we don't see a whole lot is we see a lot of counselors get killed, and we see a lot of counselors always on camp getting, you know, things ready for camp, but we never see any of the kids in camp, and the kids actually make it to the camp this time, and that also adds an element of
tension, heightened tension.
Of tension, yeah, exactly, because you don't know what's going to happen to these kids, because Jason is this amoral, mindless killing machine. So what's going to happen when he's, you know, with these kids? So I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I mean, you guys have seen the Friday the 13th series, you already know what happens. But as in addition to that, also some really good kills. I love how the sheriff ate it when, you know, Jason
backbreaker.
You know, broke him in half. That was good. I mean, you had to give props to the character for like very nearly trying to kill Jason. But no, unfortunately, at this point, you know, you can't kill Jason. I mean, if you ever could. So.
All right, for me, I put one of the most hated Friday the 13th as one of my favorites. Jason Takes Manhattan. I had recently rewatched this film several times, you know, in the last couple of years, and I really enjoy it. I know people have problems ultimately because, well, you know, only the last third of the movie took place in New York, you know, not a lot of time was spent in New York, you know, all the city scenes, you know, were done in Vancouver, you know, the majority of the movie was filmed on a boat. I didn't really look at that as faults because I understand that as slasher films, they don't necessarily have the highest budgets. So I think what the director did and how he did it was pretty inventive, and I can appreciate him for that. But we have the second film, you know, where Kane Hodder plays as Jason, and there's just too many things that I really love about this movie, despite the whole absurdity of it all. Because I know this now may sound a little cheesy, but I love the opening credits for Jason Takes Manhattan. I love the song. I love how the credits end with showing the Statue of Liberty, and then it goes underwater, and then when it comes up again, you know, it's at Camp Crystal Lake.
You're just a huge fan of 80s music.
Yeah.
So
I just generally love 80s music. You know, it's 1989. You know, even though a lot of the teens in the movie are literally throwaway characters, but the movie is just, it's a lot of fun, and I don't think the movie is ever meant to be scary because, unfortunately, you know, by the time the 8th entry hit, you know, they tried to be a little inventive, and then they started to get a little more silly and that kind of thing. But, you know, Jason got really inventive in this film, you know, when it comes to the when it comes to the kills. And, you know, there were just some people that you really hated in this film, and they got, you know, some really excellent, and they got killed in a really excellent way. You know, especially that blonde bitch, you know, with the shards of glass, and it's
boxing
just
scene.
Yeah, and obviously the boxing scene. That is probably one. That's literally the best scene in the movie, and probably one of the best scenes in the Friday the 13th franchise.
It's so much fun because you know it's impossible in real life.
Yeah, it's just the actor's name is V.C. Dupree, and he's just on top of a building, and he's just fighting Jason. He's just trying to box him, and he boxes him right to the edge, and it's just, and like I can quote it, you know, take your best shot, motherfucker, and then he just takes him, just punches his head off, and I find that scene incredibly comical. But it's just like, I just love the whole, you know, aura of the film, and there was a lot of time spent on the actual chase, you know, where they're actually chasing the survivors down into the sewers and that kind of thing. I know a lot of people didn't like how the movie ended, you know, of Jason getting washed away by toxic waste, and then you know, when the survivor girl looks down, you know, she sees kid Jason, but I think that's just like a figment of her imagination, that kind of thing, as she's trying to escape him. But for one of the reasons why I enjoy 8 a lot is that I think it's one of the most fun entries in the Friday the 13th franchise. It's just really fun. I really love the music. I really love the kills. I think this is one of Kane Hodder's best portrayals as Jason, even though, you know, he was very, very slimy, always wet all the time. But it's just like, but it had some great comedy as well. Even though, yes, Jason is a merciless killing machine, but the fact, you know, when he kicked over the punker's boombox and they were going to fight him, and then Jason decided to take the comical route and just showed his face, and then the guys just ran off, said, we're not going to fucking deal with that.
Yeah, there's so many opportunities. He could have just, hacked and slashed his way through Manhattan. They were on a subway. They were in a diner. They were all over the place, but he just walks right past them. But I guess that's just kind of plays up to the hunter in him, right?
Yeah.
Once he has his sights set on a particular prey.
Yeah. And it's like I said, it's not supposed to be taken as a serious Friday the 13th film, but I look to these films as being entertaining, and for me, it's definitely one of the most funnest experiences, as a slasher film watcher.